Hi, Siri. I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Welcome to the Wednesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning. And I want to thank Sean Kelly for the open, and follow and like us on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. You can listen to us on 37 digital platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more. Welcome to PodUp with Matthews in the morning, coming to you from the International Diamond Studios, family owned and operated with the largest selection of natural diamond jewelry, the only diamond and jewelry partner of the Florida Gators. I'm your host, Loren Meadows, with JC. We'll be joined later by Ben Troupe, Florida great, talking a lot of football and draft and everything going on. How you doing, JC?
Hey, good. Yeah, Ben Troupe, great tight end, man. He caught everything. He could be in double, triple coverage, and that guy throwing down with those big meat hooks he's got.
Right.
Very, very good player for the Florida Gators.
No doubt. Yeah, man, I'm working too hard, doing too many shows, man. But when they said, hey, Wednesday with JC, I got to be there, man. So what's going on, JC? I know you down in Tampa last night. Had a good time?
Yeah, well, I did until the Florida Panthers showed us why they're going to win the Stanley Cup again. I don't know, man. Tampa Bay, this is my team when the Bruins don't win in the East. And, I think they really showed how badly they missed Steven Stamkos. They missed Steven Stamkos tremendously on the offensive end. Vasilevsky had no chance. Florida Panthers are just suffocating. They are trouble. They are a pain in the ass to deal with. I can't imagine right now, if you are looking at Stanley Cup playoff winners on the Hard Rock, you can catch the Panthers at 7-1. I can't imagine those odds getting any better for you. So I would highly recommend, if you want to take a futures bet on the Florida Panthers, you go get them right now at 7-1. They are 325 to win the Eastern Conference. The Carolina Hurricanes are 5-1 to win the Stanley Cup. They are a pain in the ass to deal with. Whoop, that was a little back.
Let's see.
There. Winnipeg 7-1, and Tampa Bay is 14-1 after last night. This was a complete dominating performance by the defending Cup champions. I'm out of words. I think Florida, if they stay healthy, I don't know how anybody's going to beat them 4 times. Edmonton might be the team that could because of their offense and Connor McDavid. Outside of that, man, this team is just loaded and ready for the playoff run. Another playoff run. These guys play into June every year. So, as far as hockey goes, I was there last night, but I saw all I needed. And unless Tampa makes some ridiculous adjustments or somehow gets Steven Stamkos back in the lineup, and which that's not going to happen, I can't imagine them beating Florida 4 times. I can't imagine anybody beating the Florida Panthers 4 times. So they're going to need help. Florida's going to need to really give it away or just get hurt. Tampa Bay is in trouble. I think the whole Eastern Conference is in trouble. These guys.
Wow. No doubt. I mean, it's funny, JC, you look at it and we both are a little up in age, but would you ever think, I mean, I'm a Midwest guy. Would you ever think, when would you think that Florida would be? I know it's Canadians and Americans, guys from up north and all that on the team, but still Florida, the state of Florida being the epicenter of hockey. It's crazy. Sunrise, Florida is where it's 75 degrees year round.
It is amazing. It's amazing sitting there pre-gaming with everybody in 80-degree weather with a hockey jersey on, just sweating my ass off. You walk into the arena, it's 60 degrees and you feel a lot better. It's 65, right. Whatever, feels great. Meanwhile, in places like Winnipeg and others, you've got 35-degree weather.
Oh, it's still snowing. It's probably still snowing the ground in Winnipeg.
Toronto, Toronto, Montreal. These are all places where there's going to be hockey, playoff hockey. But man, Tampa is a great place. They love their Buccaneers. They love the Gators here. They love the Lightning for sure. And I don't know if they love the Rays, but I think this is a place where hockey is really just just taken off. 3 out of the last 5 years, you've had the Stanley Cup sit in Tampa or Sunrise, Florida. It's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know hockey's not our biggest topic, but right now we are in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, well, and that's what I was going to ask you. I know you follow the baseball team, but it's kind of a lull right now. Spring game is over. You kind of got the draft, but I mean, you're kind of the, I don't think you follow the NBA much, so you really stuck with. You watch the NBA?
I watched the playoffs, Loren. I watched the playoffs. I was very, very. The guy sitting on a Lakers series bet against the Timberwolves was very happy to see that the Lakers actually felt like competing last night. I think JJ Redick got into some people's heads and basically laid it down. And even though the Lakers only won by 9 and only scored 94 points, they were in total control. But Lauren, nobody is touching Oklahoma City right now. Did you see this last night? Another 118 points.
Yeah.
I'll take a team like Indiana or somebody who can score and score and score. SGA is and the Thunder out of Oklahoma City. I mean, these guys are unbelievable. They covered easily a 19-point win last night against Memphis. A lot more respectable than a 51-point win. But who the hell is going to beat them 4 times? And I think there's somebody that maybe could, but right now Oklahoma City is just they do whatever they want.
I mean, real young team, Chet Holmgren, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, and they. Those are guys that kind of came into the league and unapologetically just went to work. And you talk about Shea Gilgeous-Alexander goes up there with, got great finishers, obviously LeBron and Jason Tatum, but Alexander and, maybe Kyrie Irving. But I mean, you talk about finishing at the rim, being able to get the shot that you want. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think I think a lot of people are rooting for Lakers, Celtics, Golden State Celtics for the viewership, but it looks like it's going to be a crash course between Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Pritchard, who won the 6-man or should win. They haven't officially announced it, but they think he's going to win. And I mean, you got 2 teams on a collision course. Arguably the 2 best teams this season, even though Cleveland won the East. But a lot of the prevailing thought is that the Celtics will come out the East. And I think you follow the betting, the Thunder are the odds-on favorites to win the West. So
they scored 70 points in the first half last night. They had no issues. They've got just guys that are offensively superior than what these other teams offer. And even with what Golden State has, the great Stephon Curry, Jimmy Butler. I'm sorry, these dudes in Oklahoma City are just so young and so driven. It looks like, and Jaren Jackson, these guys from Memphis are good. Morant is great.
Awesome.
And Jaren Jackson is great. But the way Oklahoma City just attacks and goes at the offensive end is, I think, better than anything I've seen thus far this early in the playoffs. You definitely have to look at OKC. If you want a futures bet on them, you got to get them now, man. Get them now, because that number is only going to get worse for you. As far as, we talked before the show about the baseball team, the Florida Gator baseball team, coming off that 2 out of 3 against Mississippi State. The schedule maker was very nice to them. Missouri, who is winless in the SEC,
right,
and Mississippi State, who is 6-12, same as Florida. But now we've got a real team coming to town this weekend, and then following Arkansas, I think they've got the
South Carolina.
Well, they're struggling.
Yeah, then USF in the midweek, another home mid. They're undefeated in home midweeks, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
haven't lost at home in the midweek, and then we got Texas coming to town, going to Texas, Austin to that palatial estate they got down there and up there in Austin.
They're 34-5. 34-5. They're 34-5.
And then Alabama to finish at home in Gainesville. But yeah, I mean, Texas rolling. Is this a team? I mean, you watch them, JC, and like you said, the schedule makers were generous. Is this you talk to people and they say, well, baseball's playing a little better right now, starting to get it together. Or is it, once again, you got 2 of the last 3 with Arkansas. I mean, I don't think Alabama's doing okay, but with Texas, having to go to Texas, play Arkansas here at home this weekend, is it just kind of, just one of those years for Kevin O'Sullivan and his crew?
I don't like the pitching. I've said for a couple of weeks now, I've seen all I need to see with the pitching. It's not a pitching staff or a starting rotation in my mind that's going to pick you off 2 out of 3 times in a place like Austin, Texas. Now, maybe they'll surprise me. I could be wrong. But, when you're 6-12 in the conference, it's a tough conference, granted. But they are in the bottom quarter of the conference right now. There's 16 teams in the conference. They are in the last or the lower 4 with Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Missouri. You're playing now in 2 out of the next 4 weeks, 2 teams that are leading the conference in Texas and Arkansas. And it doesn't really, to me, matter where these games are being played in terms of will the home field help Florida? I don't think it'll hurt. I just don't know if they can outscore a staff that Arkansas is going to throw at them, that you're going to see the Texas Longhorns throw at them. Alabama's 9-9. I mean, they're not trash. They're 32-10. They're going to likely host a regional. So they're sitting there with Auburn at 9-9. Ole Miss and Oklahoma are 10-8 with Georgia, who's 10-8. We saw what Georgia did when they rolled in to Gainesville. Took them apart, the poor Gators. So listen, I want to believe, I do. And I can still be made to believe because of what's ahead. If they were to come out and unexpectedly blow up on Arkansas and dominate the Hogs, then I'll change my thinking. But from what I've seen thus far, no. I take the under, and I don't think they're going to get very far at all. I don't think they'll be they're a postseason team. Make him change my mind, though. I'd be happy to see it, but pitching is a problem. Luke Heyman is the guy that I think can lead this team. He's been there, done that, but I don't know. I don't think the pitching is where it should be if you're thinking that this is a team that's going to take you to the promised land. Not right now.
Yeah, and Ron Canor on the YouTube question brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Quality Plumbing, residential and commercial plumbing services, emergency repairs since 1984. Our name says it all. Yeah, Ron Canor says that Bama is ranked as well. So ranked also. Yeah. So, I mean, you talk about just a murderer's row, maybe on the back end. Like I said, maybe a little relief. But it's in Columbia, so you're talking about going to Columbia for a tilt with South Carolina next week, and then once again, no rest for the weary. And then Dan Bond on the Facebook question brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators, said big series versus Arkansas this weekend. And then for baseball, and then LSU in softball, the softball team goes out for a big, really, they got 2 back-to-back, go to LSU. And then they got the 4-time defending champion Oklahoma Sooners coming to town, JC. I mean, the league, it's just no rest for the weary. I mean, we see it in football. We saw it in basketball this year with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma. And then just from a talent standpoint, even though neither team really did well, but they brought a lot of future pros to the stage. And just in every sport, man, I mean, it's just heavy every weekend.
Well, what is your take on I haven't gotten your take since the spring game is over now on Lagway. I know how Shane feels about it. I know how I feel about it. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Gator Nation is not necessarily overly worried, but not comfortable with the fact that he was not a participant in the spring game. There's really no risk to playing in the spring game for a quarterback. You can't touch him. There was no risk to him whatsoever, and yet they held him out. Now, do you find that being somewhat surprising, alarming, or no big deal?
Well, I'll say it this way.
You're a coach. You know how.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the thing I'm going to give people, and this is the positive, and I said this from the get-go. Billy Napier, and you and I both know, frustrates people to no end because he's so close to the vest. He plays everything close to the vest, doesn't give you much. This is the one thing that he jumped out from day one when spring ball started and said, this is what we're going to do, and this is why we're doing it. And then after the spring game, stepped to the podium again, and flat, I think maybe Edgar Thompson, who's a friend of the show, was the one that asked, and he said, DJ Lagway will be throwing in 2 weeks, and he will be full participant in OTAs. And so, like you said, was there much to gain? You already know what you got in spring ball, and you and I both know, and like I said, I am a former coach. You get the timing down on those late nights in the summer, those noon throwing sessions in the heat. that's where, I mean, Shane's talked about it. You know, I talked to Chris Dorian about it. That's when you get those, you know, that's when you get that timing down with your quarterback. So as long as he's able to throw in the summer, I don't worry about that. And once again, kudos to Billy Napier about being transparent about the whole process. And he said he'll be throwing in 2 weeks. He'll be ready to go for the OTAs. But I had a conversation with DJ Lagway this past Saturday. And I asked him, I said, "You going to be ready to go this week?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm ready to go."
Wow.
And so,
Well,
you know, he wasn't coy. And here's the thing, and not to get into anything, but if you know your way around Gainesville, you run into DJ Lagway quite a bit. I mean, he's around, he goes to sporting events and things like that. And for me, if it was a situation where there was surgery or some concern, you'd be sitting your butt down and kind of chilling. So the fact that he's out and visible and shaking hands, he did the foundation thing and all those things. I gotta lend it lends itself to nothing to see here. I think there's got to be something because you don't have much this time of year, but I would be shocked if DJ Lagway is. I mean, you're never maybe 100%. You know this, JC. You never after you kind of start going, you're never 100%, but he will be ready to roll when they run out against Long Island for sure.
So what was the downside to allowing him to run around and throw the ball to Dallas Wilson the other day? I mean, you know, this guy's all over the field, catching everything and looking great, by the way.
Right. Well,
the running back room is loaded.
Right. Well, I'm gonna put it this way, and I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna look at it from two different angles. The first is, you know, he did run around. He was still running the run plays in spring practice, things like that. He just didn't throw. So that was one thing. And then two, you could almost say it was a blessing in disguise because we saw what happened, obviously, when Graham Mertz went down, but then when Lagway went down, it was pretty bad at quarterback. So I think you bring in Harrison Bailey, you see if Aiden Warner has really improved, which both quarterbacks I think have improved, and you give them all the reps because I think in this situation where you have a guy who can affect the game with his legs and his arm, could be a series, could be, you know, a couple series where maybe he's sitting in the tent, or it could be a game even where he doesn't play. And you want to know, hey, can we go in with the running game, with the talent that they have in the offensive line and the defense that should improve? Do we have somebody that can step behind center and win games for us who's not named DJ Lagway? So I think it's a catch-22. But you know, save the young man, make sure he's healthy for the games. That's why I tell people they don't send the spring game results to Birmingham.
Yeah.
But they do send the results of those SEC games. So
well,
I think that's, you know.
Did you like Bailey? I like the way he kind of backed up and slung it, man. I
did too.
He looked aggressive.
Yeah.
He looked very comfortable with Wilson. 6 was all over the field. It's just very impressive with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think those games where, you know, Long Island, I don't have a schedule.
South Florida is next. Yeah.
There are some opportunities to keep Lagway out of harm's way if the score will permit itself.
Absolutely.
And let this kid play Bailey.
Yeah.
I liked it, man. That wide receiver room and that running back room is very, very exciting.
Right. And
there's a lot of, and by the way, I talked to some Miami fans last night at the bar before the game because they were up here watching the Panthers.
Sure.
They know they don't have Cam Ward this year. They know it. And they know that game that happened last year in Gainesville, there's this word called payback. I think they also know, and they're not cocky about it, but I think they're certainly feeling that Florida will present a little bit more of a challenge. Let's say that.
Yeah. Comfort Temp Heating and Air is your #1 local HVAC company. Professional and experienced technicians keep you informed throughout the entire project. Visit us at comforttemp.com. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. And, you know, Ron Canor, again, brought to you by YouTube Quality Plumbing Question. Quality Plumbing, Residential and Quality Plumbing Services says that Lagway is a great teammate taking the O-line to Spurriers. So
God,
yeah, that was
yeah.
big. I told him, I said, well, we talked on Saturday. I said, where your bread is buttered for sure, and they wear those 5=1. Have you seen that, JC? They wear the
No.
5=1
Okay.
O-line shirts. You'll see Coach Sale has one, but DJ has one as well. So, and you go to the Hefner. I was there for something. I can't remember where I was there. And he's sitting there. There's DJ Lagway sitting there eating lunch. And he's with all the offensive linemen, Jake Slaughter, Damian George, and those guys. So I think he, definitely, is knows how to treat people, so to speak. For sure.
I really love the way that how one player turned the entire thinking of Florida football.
It's amazing.
On its head.
Yeah.
And that game against Georgia last year, I'm kind of reminiscing a little bit here. I know we want to look forward, but that game against Georgia and the fact that they were competitive and played hard, even though they lost by 2 touchdowns, that game was not a 2-touchdown game. And they were basically playing without a quarterback once he got hurt. That whole mindset on this team, the whole everything seemed to change. The way they thought, the way they played. Now I know the thing in Texas was a ridiculous exhibition because they had nobody healthy, but the way they played with LSU and Ole Miss, those last 2 home games, I think was a direct result of having him on the field at quarterback, the defense knowing that they had a chance and playing and selling out, sacking LSU's quarterback 7 times, which hadn't happened all year long.
Yeah.
And knowing that Garrett Nussmeier was basically neutered in that game because of the Florida defense, which was on the field 2/3 of the game, 40 out of 60 minutes, and dominating that. You can go back and say, what switched? What light turned on? Like I'm turning on a light right now. See, it goes on and off like this.
Right.
The light cut on. And it's just amazing to me. We talk about Lagway. Okay. Now, the bowl game was kind of pedestrian. But what he does with the rest of the team, I think, is immeasurable. The intangible value you get with a guy like that. And then taking them, like you say, to a restaurant and getting close with these guys on the offensive line. Because you're right, man. The blind side is what's going to save them.
Yeah,
and
no
he's
doubt.
going to be able to really, really count on these guys. I mentioned the depth issues with this team. Do you see the offensive line being an area where depth-wise Florida is going to be in good shape? Because if there is concern, I don't know what it is, and I'm trying to pick at them. And I just want the depth issues on the offensive line to not be an issue. Is that how you see it, or what?
Well, yeah, and let me address the Facebook question or comment by Joseph Pruenzi. He says, all excited about the wide receiver just to line up with 3 tight ends on the field every play. Shaking my head. We'll hold that there, but I wanted to get that in. The Facebook question brought to you by Meldon Law. But as far as the offensive line depth is concerned, I think they feel pretty good about it. I think they feel like they've recruited well. Guys like Bryce Lovett, Cam Waits, Fletcher Westfall have another year in the program. And I think you saw, they were missing both Najee Harris and Damian George. And obviously it was against a pedestrian defense. You don't do much on defense in the spring game, but they were still able to move the ball. And they feel like with the backs that they have and the depth there, I think they feel pretty pleased with those 3 to back up the group with Lovett, with Lovett, Harris, George, Slaughter, obviously, and my man Austin Barber. But, the receivers, yes, they are excited about the receivers. And I know a lot of people get upset about the 2 tight ends and things like that. But I think I've heard that they feel so good about that receiver room that you could maybe even see some 4 receiver sets. You have to game plan based on what you're going to see defensively. And I know everybody doesn't necessarily want to prescribe to that. They just want to see 4 wides and things like that. And I agree. Shane and I definitely, if there's one thing we agree on, we would love to see them in that 10 personnel where there's actually 4 true receivers on the field. And I think you may see some of that this year, particularly because I think it opens up the run game, but also the quarterback run game to spread some teams out and things like that. So I think that could be something that you could see from the Gators, going forward. So,
well, we all know that Billy likes to run the ball, right? He's going to try to establish that, get that going, and then hit them deep or hit them on a mid-route post or something like that. But running the ball is vital in this. And that's what Billy wants to do. We all know what he wants to do. It's not a secret. Defensive coordinators out there know what he wants to do as well. With that depth in the backfield, and given the fact that you feel the offensive line is going to be okay depth-wise, you got to feel good about what we could be bringing to the table in 2025.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Andy McIntosh, this is a good question. Andy McIntosh on the Facebook Live question brought to you by Meldon Law says, if you were to create a 4x100 team among the Gator football players, who do you select?
Oh,
I'm gonna try to run it down real quick. Give me Mizell
for sure.
Tank Hawkins, Eugene Wilson the third.
How about Wilson? I'm telling you, I love
Dallas Wilson. He's more of a. I mean, he's a big dude. Route. I don't know what kind of. I need straight ahead speed guys.
Okay,
a guy to lead the curve. So I'm gonna have Tank Hawkins leading off. Give me Aiden Mizell on leg 2. I'm gonna put Eugene Wilson on the curve on 3.
Who's my anchor?
Oh man, the anchor. What's the other kid? Abrams.
Okay,
may be the anchor. So I had to look at it. I know there's some other quicks. I'm gonna have to. That's a question for another. Maybe I'll bring that back tomorrow. But real quick, JC, before we get you out of here, I do want to ask you this, and this is an interesting question because I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there is not a retired jersey at Florida, correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So a lot of news was made about them retiring the jerseys before they even left school, per se, of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter at a place like Colorado with guys like, I know they retired Rashawn Salam's jersey, won the Heisman Trophy after his passing, but guys like Cordell Stewart, Darian Hagan, Eric Bieniemy, Chad Brown, you remember those teams in the 90s that were really good football teams.
Really good. They were fat.
None of those players have had their jerseys retired. Well, and we can, talk about it. I know you'll be back on Friday. We can get it. But if you had to run down the top 3 to 5 guys that you would think if you say, okay, these jerseys are never going to be worn again at Florida, who would it be?
Well, I think you start with 11 and then you go to 15. And the thing with Percy was he wore 2 different numbers. He was number 1, number 8.
Yeah, number 1 and number 8. Right.
But Percy Harvin was probably and arguably the greatest talent-wise, the greatest player to play at Florida. But Spurrier, of course, with the Heisman. I got to say Tebow because of what he meant with everything he did. 15 for sure. And then it kind of gets a little muddy. If we're just sticking with offense, what was Fred? I'm drawing a blank. What was Fred Taylor? What number?
I can't remember. So, Dan Bond, help us out. He's on.
Someone get me on Fred Taylor. The fact that I can't just pull that number out of my head right now at 8:27 Eastern Standard Time probably means that it shouldn't be retired. But my God, Fred Taylor. Okay, so if it was Fred was 21, I would have a discussion about that. Okay. Just because of what Fred Taylor meant and how great he was. I think people have forgotten some of the greatness of Fred Taylor. But for sure, 11 and 15.
Yeah, now what about 20? What about 22? Our man Emmitt Smith.
See, I love 22, but 22 did more in the NFL. 22 made his name as a Dallas Cowboy. He was great at Florida. He left. And he left before the era of offense came because he didn't play with Spurrier.
Right.
So 22 is great because of the Dallas Cowboys, but 22 I think is a number you can still wear at Florida. As great as Emmitt was, and we all know it. But 15 and 11.
Right. Now, Barone 71 on the YouTube question brought to you by Quality Plumbing says 3 Heisman winners: Jack Youngblood, Carlos Perez. I mean, you can only retire so many, but what's Perez 27 or something like that?
I think he's talking about Carlos.
Carlos
Alvarez.
I think Alvarez. I think
Carlos Alvarez was from a time that I was growing up in Gainesville, and my dad would take me to watch the Gators in the 70s. And Carlos Alvarez caught passes from a guy named John Reeves, and John Reeves was a great name through Florida football's history. But in terms of just what they meant to the program, the results they got on the field, you have to go with. You can't put every Heisman Trophy's number on the wall. I guess you could if you wanted to, but that'd be a couple there. Danny Werfel would have to have his name on the wall, number 7. I don't know. I'm saying 15 and 11. Start from there, and we can talk about the rest.
Right.
But Lomas Brown was also a great offensive lineman. Nice heads up there from Barone on YouTube. There's a lot of great Gators. I mean, we all know this. Wilbur Marshall was the greatest linebacker Florida ever seen. Wilbur Marshall was a guy that just won the game on his own by himself. Who can forget the game against Southern California? He played with the Florida Gators in the 80s. Wilbur Marshall was the best linebacker Florida ever had, and Florida had some monsters on defense, just assassins. So I don't know, man. It's a hard question, but you can't argue two of them. And those two is what I just stated, 15 11.
And Nat Blaylock on the Facebook question brought to you by Meldon Law said that Spurrier's was retired, but then he brought it back. So, which speaks to Coach Spurrier. Well, he never takes himself too seriously. That's what people like about him. But so I guess at one time maybe Spurrier was retired.
Yeah.
And now obviously everybody's worn 11. So it's but it'd be interesting. And people talk about bringing, maybe opening up the Ring of Honor. Obviously, how we both feel about Shane. Everybody kind of believes that Shane is one that should be in that Ring of Honor, but
he wouldn't tell you that. Though. He'd say, "Oh hell no."
Yeah.
In fact, knowing Shane the way I do, he doesn't like that kind of attention. He likes what he did on the field, but he doesn't want that immortalization. I don't think. Now maybe I'm lying, but I don't think Shane would be like, "Oh hell no." Hell no. All I did was I said, dude, you're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no doubt.
You won the SEC Player of the Year, and you never lost a home game, and you were the first quarterback to play under the new system that Steve Spurrier brought to the University of Florida. You're the first guy, and you took over Kyle's job.
I'm a
he'll do, dude. Rex had a better arm than I did. Tebow was more physical. I was a 165-pounder. I just got things done, and I understood the offense. And that's all he'd say. God bless him. He's very modest that way, Shane.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I don't think he would want anybody not to wear 9 if they would deserve to wear 9. I think he'd be happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ask Shane. No, we should ask Shane.
We will. Well, I agree. I've had discussions with him, and he it's not a big deal to him, which is good for him. But I tell him all the time, it's funny, JC, and I'll let you go. But here's Loren Meadows as a Florida fan. So I'm sitting in my dorm room in Ohio, at Ohio Northern. I think I was a sophomore in college playing ball, and the Florida Gators trot out against the Alabama Crimson Tide for the first SEC championship game.
Oh no!
At the Old Gray Lady in Birmingham, and I'm watching the game. It's cold, it's rainy, and the game is tied. And then this quarterback throws an interception that allows the greatest play, the play that saved college football.
Well, it changed,
and that was the night I became a Florida fan. I always tell Shane he will forever be my favorite Gator, because watching him sling it around and watching those guys catch balls and that fun and gun was just, I really didn't have a college team. My parents are from West Virginia, so we might have liked the Mountaineers a little bit, Notre Dame, but that night is the night I became a Florida fan.
And he would tell you that 92 defense that Alabama presented was the best he ever played against. The Gators did not run from that. They ran at it. Eric Rhett had a great game that night. Mm-hmm. And Monty Duncan slipped on the route. I can tell you, I was there watching it as a young, intrepid reporter for TV 20 in the freezing weather with my V-neck sweater on, saying what the hell I was doing. And Monty just slipped, and Langham jumped in the way and took it to the house. But anyhow,
all right, man.
Way out the past, but
shout out to Shane, and like I said, you see behind me, I've been hooked ever since. So but appreciate you joining us, JC, man. Definitely see you on Friday.
You got it, Loren. Enjoy the rest of the week. Thanks for having me. It was an enjoyable 32 minutes, and and be safe. We'll see you Friday.
All right, man. Be safe.
All right.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG and A Wealth Management, Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
And back here on PodUp with Matthews in the morning, we're joined by Florida great tight end, 84 Reasons podcast, my homeboy, my man, Ben Troupe. How you doing, Ben?
Always good to be on with you, Loren.
Man, I know you heard some of that discussion. I was telling you, I think we should retire 84 as well. I think a lot of people would be for that. You know, you're in the Florida Georgia Hall of Fame, just fan favorite. Everybody talks about the hurdler, the hurdler Ben Troupe. But no, I definitely appreciate you coming on, and just a lot going on, man. A lot in this time of year. Got the draft, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But as someone who went through the NFL draft process, I mean, what are those young men thinking, less than 24 hours basically away from the maybe the greatest day of their life?
They just want to get it over with. The hardest time is right now, because there's nothing else you can do but sit here and hopefully this is social media era. So this is when you got to turn that stuff off, because you're only looking for favorable coverage. You're only looking for favorable media. I think right now you doing your best to say, hey, man, this is when I don't want the exposure. This is when I don't want everybody watching me, because now the hardest place to be is pick number 33, pick number 34. Because everybody thinking, man, I'm going first round. I'm looking at these mock let me big people, mock drafts. That's not analytics. That's not. They're giving. That's a projection. That's why you'll have, by the time the draft comes, you'll have one guy do 15 mock drafts, and it switches up. But also, Loren, it's a chance to really reflect, to say, you know what, dude, I made it. Like, I don't know where I'm going. And when people say he dropped the 24, no, you can't drop the. You're a top
right
40 pick, 60 pick. You got to remember how many players coming out. We look at where they went. You know how many players coming out? We talking about, in the thousands. It's how many players coming out from D1, D2, D3, NAIA, Ivy League, HBCU. So I would say, while it is nerve-wracking, it's worth every single nerve, because hopefully, we used to do this. We used to tell players this. We'd say, listen, man, when I got a chance to talk to some of the rookies, I say, make a thank you list, man, and try to remember everybody you can, and just send them out. Because there's so many people help you. You know how it is, Lauren. Mom and dad were the first two to believe. Then you got the coaches. Then you got assistant coach. It's always, so I would say, enjoy it, but don't look at this stuff where I was supposed to go. And I don't want to hear these players saying you get pick number 2. You be like, listen, every team that skipped over me, I'm gonna make them pay. Ain't nobody skipped over you. You go top 10, top 15. but I'm looking forward to it, Lauren, because the NFL draft is the greatest draft of all drafts, because we know the players. It ain't like NBA where you got international talent. I don't even know when they do the NHL draft, when they do it. And the baseball draft just goes on for so many days. You're like, dude, what round is it? Like round 20, something like that. But I would say congratulations to every player, regardless of where you go, regardless if you don't get drafted, if you become a free agent, because it's a dream. Everybody has a dream of going to the National Football League if you ever put on cleats and a helmet. but it's so rare, man. And I do not take it for granted. And I remember more about my teammates that didn't get drafted than the ones that did, because everybody's worthy. Don't give me that. He wasn't that good, man. He was one of the – listen, what they say, the best brand of football is played on Saturday. The best players in the world play on Sunday. That's how it go. And for me, you got a chance to be a part of the best brand of football, but it's a numbers game, man. And there's only so many. And sometimes one player panned out because he got the opportunity. The other player didn't because he didn't get the opportunity. But come Thursday, man, every player in the draft think they're going first round. Let me put that out there. Every player, I don't care if I go to Middle Tennessee State of Ohio, I think I'm going first. But that's how they're supposed to think, right? But I'm looking forward to it. And I'm just to see some of these guys come off the board. Obviously, I'm looking for them boys from Gainesville to come off the board, and happy for all those guys. But I want to see what Graham Mertz, somebody gonna get it, man. I mean, if you look at his body of work from two different schools, but I'm looking forward to it. Lauren is, I'm looking forward to these trades. I think it's going to be some trades.
Right. Yeah, it could be interesting for sure.
No veteran with a big salary that's not a quarterback is safe. I'm just making $15 million. They might be.
You bet. Might be on the move. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief, no surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. Gallo Car Wash, locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes, with locations on Northwest 13th Street and Southwest Williston Road, coming soon to Jonesville and North Main Street in Gainesville. Gallo Car Wash. And we talk about being some of the guys that are draft eligible, names like Montrell Johnson, Chimera DK, I think did himself a huge service during the draft process, is now in the top 20 as far as receivers are concerned. Montrell Johnson, now 25th. I saw that Shamar James, I think, is the 18th best linebacker. So of those names, who do you think will come off the board first for the Gators? Guys like Montrell Johnson, Shamar James, Chimera DK, Elijah Badger is, I think, 34th on the latest ratings. But who do you think will be that? We already talked about how great the pro day was compared to 2024's pro day. Who's the first Gator to come off the board?
I think it's Montrell, and I think and this running back class is low. I mean, it is loaded. I mean, Montrell comes off the board first to me because everybody's looking for that number 2 running back. Not saying Montrell is not built to be a number 1, but once again, he did it at 2 schools. Montrell came to the SEC to show people how great he was. Hey, man, I was doing it in Louisiana, and I'm the one that helped. I'm the one that helped Coach Napier. I was a part of that, hey, man. And me and Osiris, this is what he's trying to do, fellas. This is what. Just give it time. Now, Badger and DK are very, very interesting because DK did it in front of the world. I mean, I knew DK was fast. I ain't know you can't coach speed, Lauren. And now DK is already coming into the league like a Puka Nakua, except he's much faster, much quicker. He go to the right scheme. I think a guy that helped himself, and nobody's talking about him enough, I think Cam Jackson helped himself a lot. I think the way he competed at the combine, I think how he didn't jump into the portal because, you go from one school to another. The team ain't doing as much as you want to do. But I think it's going to be a year Florida puts a lot in the league. I think most of our draft eligible guys, I think Montrell, I think DK, I think Shamar, I think Cam, I think Elijah. I think all those guys got a shot. It's just Montrell is the most interesting because the running back class. I know people want to talk about Genty, the running back from North Carolina. It is deep. I'm talking about deep. But I think what Florida did the best was they finished the season right. They put on at the combine. And they put on for the pro day. Now, the most interesting draftee ever is Big Dez. I don't think I've never seen a person that big. But when he ran his 40, I was like, wait a minute.
38 reps on the bench being wide grip. That's what they don't talk about. He did 38, but it was wide grip.
Yeah.
I watched it live. I was like, why is he doing wide grip bench? And then he did 38 reps wide grip. I mean, crazy.
Everybody understands about Dez. The nutrition is already waiting on him. Hey, you want to make it in this league or you want to play in this league? I want to make it. All right, well, this is what we're going to have to, and it's going to be a constant thing, right? They're telling dads, look, man, we know what you can do. Now, you ain't playing, I don't know, we got a package for you on goal line, on the first and goal. If they're going to give it to you, I don't know. But I think every last guy, whether they went to the combine now or just the pro day, every last guy helped themselves, Loren, and obviously you was there live at the pro day. What Florida has become again, one, Florida always going to have all 32 teams when they have their pro day. It's Florida. But they're literally here to say, hey, man, I want to see this dude up close. So I'm interested to see where all these guys go. I think every last one of them added value to any team they go to because, listen, man, I know how to play on a team that's trying to get back into it. I don't have to get DK and Elijah Badger saying, look, I don't got to be the number one guy, but I'm going to push the number one dude. I'm going to push him because I know how to be complimentary. Shamar James, he can run. He can run and hit. That's what linebacker, and he can cover. Cam Jackson has proven, listen, I can take on double teams. I'm tall, but I can play low. It's like them guys showed it all. I'm excited for every last one of them because, we love Ricky Pearsall, but he's the only draftee we had in 2024. That won't happen again. He did go first round, but I'm interested to see where these guys go. And if you become behind those guys, nothing makes me believe in my coach more. When he started putting them out there, wait a minute, how many we had? Because it was me, Gus, Keywan, Bobby McCray, and Matt. We had 5 in 2004, and I thought we would have had a lot more than that. So sometimes it ain't necessarily how good you are or how good you projected to be. It's the numbers. You know how it is, Loren. But
right,
4.34s, they don't make those. And that's what DK did. And Elijah, look at the tape.
Right.
He was out there.
Against quality competition.
Absolutely.
Miapa Latin Cafe, discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe with 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Ben, somebody, and this is another person we forgot to mention, but I think he was on his way to probably his best season as a Gator before he got hurt, and that's Jason Marshall. Silent J said on the YouTube question, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says don't sleep on Jason Marshall Jr. And that's another guy that I think when it came to he showed that he was fairly healthy. I think he might have ran in the high 4.4s, maybe low 4.5s, which is plenty for a corner his size. Good ball skills. I thought he really rebounded, under the tutelage of Will Harris last year. Really seemed to have it, was on his way to having a really nice year, and then obviously had the shoulder injury. But let me ask you this, Ben, and this is kind of away from Florida, but still relative, maybe the next couple years with DJ Lagway coming out. You listen to draft experts, and they talk about this draft class with Cam Ward, Shador Sanders, Jackson Dart, which I'm a big Dart guy. I think Dart, it could be a good pro, but do you have to take a quarterback? And what I mean by that is if these guys last year with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams and others would have been Michael Penix Jr. would have been 2nd to 3rd round picks. But this year, like you said, it's a numbers game. Is there a cautionary tale with all the free agent and veteran quarterbacks to maybe not taking a quarterback and maybe using some of that draft capital? Our Titans, I'm a Titans fan. You played for the Titans. Mm-hmm. Maybe trading down, bringing in a veteran guy to maybe, compete against Will Levis and doing it that way, as opposed to every single year feeling like we got to go and just take who we think is the best quarterback in that class.
It is cautionary tale, but it's the risk versus reward. It's if you don't get him and he pan out. I think that's what how they look at the quarterbacks as. They'll say, okay, and I don't like to use the whole. I don't do the Patrick Mahomes. I said, dude, he's in a stratosphere all of his own. But what happens if I had a chance to get him? You know how it is, Loren. It's one of those things that we say, man, we could have had him, and that's the thing. Everybody's not gonna pan out. We get it. No boom or bust candidate is bigger than a quarterback because of what's on his shoulders. But if he doesn't bust, if he is good, and if the goal of a quarterback is to draft him and he become a franchise guy, he stayed up for 10, which means if I got my quarterback, then I can work on the rest of my team because I don't got to worry about it. Now that's what make a quarterback rare. But Jaden Daniels to me is a diamond in the rough. I mean, but he did it at Arizona State. He did it at LSU. Caleb Williams did it at Oklahoma. He did it at USC. And sometimes that don't happen in year one. But it's like this though, Loren. What happens when we got to give quarterbacks at least 3 years because they learning the game. The game is switching up different coordinators. But if they get it right, listen. When I was in the National Football League, Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Flacco, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady were the only quarterbacks to go to the AFC Championship for like 20 years. It was 4 guys. And Joe Flacco went to 1. Ben Roethlisberger went to 3. Tom Brady went to like 15. And then, Peyton. So I think that's what it is. It's not we got to get him. It's what if we don't get him and he's in our division and we shaking his hand before the game, Lauren. But if you head coach of Team X, every time you shake this dude's hand, you're like, dude, we could have had this dude. So I think that's more of what it is. And they get the most scrutiny too. But I mean, like I said, to the people out there, to these anonymous sources, having all this negative stuff to say about Shedeur Sanders, like he's too confident, he's too brash, he's too bold. Do you know who his daddy is? Like what? Like some of the stuff, and I go, don't you know his daddy used that stuff to weed all that stuff out? He know y'all coming. But if you think you can't stand the Sanders now, let that boy go to the right team and start winning. Because guess what? Nobody's gonna help his daddy get to the league more than his son. And if Shedeur start doing it, which depending on where he goes, I think he will. I want to see if Coach Prime could potentially come to the National Football League. People say he won't come, he won't go to Dallas. I don't think nobody will go to Dallas. He'll take the money. I want it, but Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, the marketing, extraordinaire he is. I think he'll end up in the league, but right now he's gonna honor that contract in Colorado.
Right, no doubt. Silverback concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Now it's time for Peachland Dentistry. And so with that, Ben, the last thing I want to ask you is, before you get out, what was Ben Troupe doing 24 hours before the draft when the time came? Where was Ben Troupe? And I think the inquiring minds want to know, the night before, arguably the biggest day in your life, going to the Tennessee Titans, what was Ben Troupe doing?
I remember this vaguely. 24 hours before the draft, my sister, Cariana, I'm like 17 years older than her. She was in kindergarten. I am literally at her kindergarten class, just out there with all these kids. Because I'm a real tall, big guy. The kids just running around, jumping out. Because I needed something to take my mind off this. And just being out there with them, I mean, because, her teachers, they know, but they like, you doing what tomorrow? Oh, that's fantastic. They don't know what the draft is. But I'm in my hometown of Swainsboro and just doing my best to stay off the grid, because this back when phones could roam now. Ain't no navigation now. So anybody that came to see me, you better know how to read a map. But I wouldn't change it. I was happy that the place I'm from, but then the next day was a lot crazier. But yeah, the 24 hours before, I'm at my sister's first grade class. My sister trying to figure out why my brother here, like what is he doing here? I remember my sister telling me, I said, hey, Carolina, she said, you ain't even bring no candy or nothing. Like, you ain't even bring.
What you doing here?
like, I don't want to see you. What's up?
Right.
You brought something? No, I just want to play with y'all. That's it, man. I could have. What mama them at? So, it was the greatest. I mean, to everybody that had something to do with me getting drafted, there's too many names to name. I just want to say thank you, because that's a moment in time that'll never, ever go away. And like I said, to be able to share it with my family and friend, my friend Isaac West, who I believe Coach Napier, because Isaac West, I think Coach Napier threw to Isaac. He went to Furman.
Okay.
I believe Coach Napier threw to my teammate Isaac West. Out of all the teammates I ever had, that boy drove from Augusta, Georgia, with no navigation, never been to Swainsboro. Him and his sister came to my draft day party, man. I remember. So Isaac, man, he a real one. I appreciate him for that.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and I mean that's the it's interesting, man. I've had a couple guys that I coached get drafted, a couple homeboys that are actually a good friend of mine, Dan Wilkinson, you might remember, went #1 in the draft. Shout out to Big Dan, and been a real one since 1986. And it's just funny how this is life changing for a lot of people, and so looking for a good draft, and just go from there. So definitely looking forward to those Gators going, and I think it's going to be an interesting draft, and I think it's going to set the tone for this season, recruiting, and all those things that we as Florida football fans want to see. So, the draft is a start, and it's, I think, a culmination of the work that Napier and his staff and others have been doing to get it to this point. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Ben, you may or may not remember this one, but on this day in, this day in 1989, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played his last regular season game in the NBA after a 20-year career with the Los Angeles Lakers, Milwaukee Bucks. And unfortunately, Kareem would lose to the Bad Boy Pistons in 4 in the finals, but retired as the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. So shout out to my Lakers and my main man, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who I think does not, and this is a discussion for another time, does not get enough credit when you talk about the discussion for the greatest to ever play. So,
I think he is, though, Loren. I mean, people don't want to say it, but check high school, check college, check the pros. I've never been nothing but the greatest, and I have the greatest move. The tush push is equivalent to the sky hook.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, totally unstoppable, man. Appreciate you joining me. Great to have you, man. I'll be talking to you, and thanks for coming on.